yours.
Okay, hello and good evening. Welcome to this Warwick District Council Cabinet meeting of the 12th of November. You should be aware that this is live streamed on YouTube. Details how the recordings are stored are available on our website. No planned tests, and I don't believe there's any members of the public here, so leave as you know and follow the normal rules. Use of mics, please make sure there's nothing in the way of those. So, item 1, are there any apologies for absence?
Councillor Roberts.
Councillor Roberts, yes. And Councillor Phillips, we have no member from the Conservative group, but Councillor Phillips has asked us to say one thing that he mentioned earlier. Any declarations of interest beyond those that you know the monitoring officer has said? No, that's fine. So we're on to the the only item really of local government reorganisation. We've just had a debate at full council and gone through them, so I'm proposing not to have much debate here, although of course you may if you wish. Rather, it is to go through the 15 recommendations one at a time, and I'm asking everybody, if they want to speak, put your hand up straight away, otherwise we may have voted and moved on before you get a chance. So the first one is that Cabinet notes and considers the comments and views expressed by Council on this matter when making its decision. This is exactly what we're doing. This is the purpose of this meeting. So I'm proposing that from the chair, and I can see Councillor King is seconding that. All those in favour? Thank you very much. And I trust everyone here and make sure that we do that as well as we can. Recommendation 2 is about noting the public engagement exercise. We had good support for that. So I'm proposing that from the chair, and I see Councillor King seconding that. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Number 3 was about the People 2 appendix service, about implementation plan for social services and children's services to ensure a safe and legal outcome. Anyone want to speak on that? Councillor Armstrong, on behalf of ONS, perhaps?
Yes, just to note the comments made at ONS about the timeline of that implementation plan and whether that's going to change or be updated going forwards.
That is an excellent point, which can it be noted that I'll pick that up with our Chief Executive to make sure it appears as coherent as possible. You're absolutely right. Thank you for noting that. So, number 3, I'm proposing this from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Williams, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We're on to item 4, which is noting the DCN, District Council Network, report in terms of lack of correlation between population size of councils and financial performance. This wasn't discussed, so I propose from the chair to agree with that. Thank you, Councillor Melrose, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Number 5 notes the County Council's submission, which, if you like, is the counter, but it's well worth reading. Again, no debate on that, so I'm proposing this from the chair. Councillor King, thank you very much for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Item 6 is about it's noting the financial analysis in section 1.6 of the report, and also the Deloitte report on behalf of the boroughs and districts. Again, not discussed in detail, so I'm proposing this from the chair. Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favour? Right, hopefully we're now on to a bit more discussion, which is item 7, recommendation 7, which is about the strategic authority options, which, although to note, were there any points that people felt we should follow up on? Councillor Kohler made up quite a few points about the investment zone, so I think perhaps, Chief Executive, would you be able to just circulate a note to councillors to the effect that you believe that there won't be any impact of being in a different strategic authority on the investment zone?
Yes, Chair, happy to do that. And just by way of an update as well, tomorrow should be the date where we actually sign, or rather everybody has signed, the business rates retention agreement, which of course lasts for 25 years. So it is, I suppose, technically possible the government could redo that, but we've always had that risk anyway, and the strategic authority doesn't present a greater risk because we're already kind of straddling administrative boundaries, and being in or out doesn't actually make any difference.
Thank you very much. So, okay, a lot of debate, but it doesn't seem to be anything we need to take forward as an action now. This clearly is something that we have to keep an eye on, and things may change, but there's not movement at the moment. So on that basis, recommendation 7 I'm proposing from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Melrose, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. If you like, the main item is recommendation 8, which is favouring 2 unitary council outcome. Again, a lot was said, but does any more need to be said? Councillor Chilvers.
I will abstain on this for the reasons set out in the council debate.
Okay, thank you. Just turning to my monitoring officer for a moment.
Just as a reminder for all councillors and for those watching, that will need to be recorded in the minutes because we have to record when there is not unanimity within the cabinet. So Councillor Chilvers' abstention will be recorded in the minutes.
That's fine. And as I recall, it was in terms of the situation the government's put us in and the time spent on the reorganisation and so on, that it's not an ideal process, which was echoed by many people in the room today. Okay, that means Councillor King.
Sorry, Chair. Would that be the opportunity to stress, to make that point that several councillors have made, that they're not in agreement with the process full stop, and the fact that it's a mess?
So my understanding is that the council have agreed that we are asking our chief executive to work with the other districts and boroughs that are going for 2 unitaries to put the best case possible forwards, and that is largely the Deloitte's report, but there will be appendices and covering letters. I think, Councillor King, you're suggesting within the covering letter we could have a paragraph to that effect. So I think your proposal, although it's not a formal recommendation, is that we work with our chief executive to draft something like that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that would reflect comments made earlier.
Can you remind me in a couple of recommendations time? Because I think that's the bit that we need. So, unless there are further comments, so our monitoring officer was
Just checking to make sure nothing from scrutiny or.
Well, they have been said, so overview and scrutiny did support this, but I think Councillor Armstrong is saying enough has been said tonight.
I'm happy to repeat comments if necessary, Chair, but I don't feel it's needed.
Making sure observers were happy.
Observers are happy, thank you. So again, recommendation 8, I'm proposing from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Melrose, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Recommendation 9.
You do need to do that abstention from Jonathan.
Oh, sorry. Those against? Abstentions? Thank you, Councillor Chilvers. And thank you, Monitoring Officer. Recommendation 9, Councillor Bode.
Yes, it was only 9 and 10, to be quite honest. On the first one, local government reorganisation in consultation with the leader of the council, that's Chris doing that. And on 10, it's also a similar proposal, except that one is in consultation with leader of the council and other group leaders. Why isn't that the same on 9?
So I will say, and we'll see if our chief executive agrees. So the first one is our chief exec, unfortunately, is spending a lot of time liaising with all sorts of people. He's mentioned tonight government officials and also, of course, leaders and so on in Warwickshire, but also wider than that. And we discuss quite a lot in terms of what he's doing and what he's saying. So that's a sort of day-to-day thing. Number 10, as I understand it, is this actual submission that has to be done by the 28th of November. He's going to be working with the other chief execs who are agreeing for the 2 unitaries. And if there are changes in that, it is for group leaders to say, yes, happy or not. I think you're all very aware that it's much more powerful if it's the 4 of us, 4 districts and boroughs going in together, so we can't say we want this change if the other 3 don't. Well, we can, but we've got to be sensible about that. So I'll just check with our chief. Yeah, okay, good. So number 9, heard no other things from that, so I'm proposing that from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Melrose, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Number 10, there was an error that it said prior to its submission to Cabinet, and that should be to Government. So that's an amendment to the recommendation that I'm suggesting. The second bit is referring to what Councillor King mentioned a little while ago. These administrative amendments to the final business case, that is where we could put in something like, this is taking more resources than it should, or something like that. I don't think we'd want to say it's a mess to government, but it's to convey that message. Clearly clearly our chief executive needs to work with the other 3 districts and boroughs to see if they're in accord and agreement and how it goes in. My suspicion is because they won't have voted on that, we wouldn't want to change the basic core submission, so that's the Deloitte report and appendices like People 2 and the letters from MPs and so on. So we don't change that, but I'd hope in the covering letter we can have that, and it may be, we'll leave it to our chief exec to do the discussion, but it may be that there's a paragraph that's in there that everyone agrees, or we would like to note that Warwick District Council says. So those would be the things that I believe we collectively are asking in that. Okay, with that said, recommendation 10 with the amendment I'm proposing from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Davidson, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Number 11 is to note the timetable for a local government reorganisation. There was no debate on that, so I'm proposing that from the chair. Thank you, Councillor King, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Now, item 12, recommendation 12 about preparedness and so forth. There are a few things to say. First of all, 12F and 12G were changed. Just turning to the monitoring officer, whether he would like to read those out for clarity, or can we just say it's from the addendum? As per the addendum. Okay, so those are as per the addendum. Councillor Falp.
Yeah, I just want to say this is really important for our staff, so they know the way forward. It's important for the councillors, so they know their way forward. And it's important for our residents, so they understand the process and the way forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? I think, Councillor Phelps, you mention a hugely important point, because these are saying our approach to the next few years. And although we have a timeline by government, we are not confident that it will happen. And so there are So that means we need to do as much as we can to make sure that government, to make sure that our services run as well as possible, and that's for the residents, but also to be fair to staff, that we are still investing in them and setting the structures in so they can develop professionally and services can continue to improve. So it's really important that we do that, and many of these things are to that effect. Okay, if that's no other comments from that, I will propose that from the chair. And thank you, Councillor Sinnott, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Number 13, I believe there was a change, so can I turn to Councillor Bode?
I think it's more an addition than a change. It was specifying what you needed to be asking the questions of. So I can give Graham a copy of it. I'll read it out. That Cabinet, in discussion with parish and town councils, identifies which current services they may be in receipt of or none, to identify the size of the issues that may need to be addressed. Do some parishes, for instance, receive no service at all? What do they want to take on?
Thank you. The one bit which did come up in the debate, which I had made a note of, was also about the viability as well, and whether you wanted to add that bit onto the end of that as well. And it's, I think, as the point the leader was just whispering my ear was, is that part of the recommendation, or is that another action for Cabinet which you're agreeing to take on, which I think is what Cabinet are agreeing to take on as part of that note and that work. So,
Yes, so
I'm happy for you to take on however you want it.
So we're keeping the recommendation as set out in the papers, but Councillor Bode's point about how to engage with town and parish councils is very important, and as you say, helping to ensure that anything they do is viable. Haven't discussed with Councillor Billiald, but with many ventures that we support for charities and so on, there is a bit of sense checking that officers do to make sure, to try and ensure that they are sensible and viable. Okay, so with those extra details, but the recommendation as set out, I am proposing from the chair for item 13. Thank you, Councillor Billiald, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Recommendation 15 is to continue, 14, to keep council staff and town and parish councils, partners, etc. informed. Again, is something I believe we all agreed with, so I'm proposing that from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Davidson, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Councillor, I'm losing the words here. Recommendation 15, which is the last one. However, I do want to make a couple of points after that. So this one is from the addendum, so it's as set out in the addendum, and the point here is that if there's a single unitary authority, it's looking to have a joint committee and joint implementation executive so that it's partnership working and jointly creating a new authority. I think there's approval for that, so I'm proposing that from the chair. Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favour? Thank you very much. The 2 points I wanted to make, first of all, my apologies to Councillor Phillips, because I said his point was that in the letter to government that his plea was to make a decision fast. Whether it's happening, whether it's not, does that meet approval from people here? So I think there are nods there, so I'm asking if that can be added to the sort of to-do list, I think, from item 10 on doing the presentation there. And then the final bit to say is this has been such a huge amount of work and will continue to be. So once again, I think we should give huge thanks, particularly to our Chief Executive, but also many other staff, like our monitoring officer, who are doing a lot of work, and it will get increasingly difficult for them because as time goes on, assuming the process continues, they've got to keep the business as usual, the show on the road, and be planning for an immense upheaval. So huge thanks to officers for doing that. If there are no more comments, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your time.